Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Today, we're zeroing in on the massive financial engine that's currently driving India's military modernization. Now, if you've been following global defense shifts, you already know the way countries arm themselves is changing incredibly fast. But what's happening right now in India? Well, it's on a completely different scale. I am super excited to guide you through this today because decoding this latest capital acquisition move reveals a fundamental, absolute game changer in the international defense landscape. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for The Explainer. We're going to cover the big hook, what the DAC actually is, the historical evolution, strategic impact, global shifts and challenges, and wrap it up with the future outlook and revision.
Section 1. The Big Hook. 84,500 crores. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is the staggering monetary value of the capital acquisition proposals recently cleared by the Indian government. We are talking about an absolute mountain of money being injected straight into the military's modernization pipeline.
But you know, the raw number isn't even the real paradigm shift here. It's the sourcing. Out of that massive budget, an unprecedented 98% is now legally bound to be sourced from domestic Indian industries. Just 2% is left for direct foreign sourcing. 2%! This is a monumental shift. We're no longer talking about simply buying off-the-shelf weapons from abroad. We're looking at a mandated, systematic redirection of wealth directly into the domestic industrial base.
Section 2. What is the DAC?
So who exactly is moving this mountain of money? That would be the Defense Acquisition Council, or the DAC. They are the absolute highest decision-making body within the Ministry of Defense when it comes to forming new policies and approving major capital acquisitions for the Army, Navy, and Air Force. The DAC wields ultimate authority here. It's chaired by the defense minister, and its stakeholders include the absolute top brass. We're talking the Chief of Defense Staff and the service chiefs. Basically, when the DAC clears a proposal, it literally sets the wheels of the entire military-industrial complex in motion.
Section 3. Historical Evolution.
Now, historically, defense procurement in India was notoriously slow and honestly plagued by scandals. To fix this, the DAC was actually formed way back in 2001, right after the recommendations of the Post-Cargill Review Committee. Fast forward to 2020, and we see this massive leap with the introduction of the Defense Acquisition Procedure, or DAP 2020. This procedure heavily prioritized a specific procurement category called Buy Indian IDDM, which stands for Indigenously Designed, Developed, and Manufactured. And that framework, that laid the crucial groundwork for exactly what we're seeing today in 2024, with this massive 98% domestic sourcing push.
Section 4. Strategic Impact.
So, what does this all mean on the ground? Well, the most immediate impact is import substitution. By legally mandating that 98% of this budget has to be spent at home, the DAC is systematically breaking India's long-standing reliance on foreign original equipment manufacturers, or OEMs. The military is basically forced to empower domestic players now. And we aren't just talking about giant conglomerates like L&T and Tata, though for sure they are prime beneficiaries. We're also talking about hundreds of specialized MSMEs, those micro, small, and medium enterprises that make up the vital backbone of the supply chain.
Beyond just rebuilding the supply chain, this is fundamentally driving rapid force modernization to plug some very critical maritime gaps. This financial clearance isn't just a fun economic exercise, right? It's buying real, necessary hardware. We're looking at the acquisition of multi-mission maritime aircraft for the Coast Guard, medium-range maritime reconnaissance aircraft for the Navy, and the deployment of active towed array sonars. These are highly sophisticated, absolutely crucial assets for modern maritime security.
And naturally, injecting 84,500 crores directly into the domestic sector act as a massive economic stimulus. I mean, you simply can't build multi-mission aircraft and advanced sonars without a highly trained workforce. So this policy act is a huge catalyst, creating thousands of highly skilled engineering and manufacturing jobs right within India. It's a brilliant dual-purpose strategy. You arm the military and you boost the economy at the exact same time.
Section 5. Global Shifts and Challenges.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the global paradigm has completely changed. The old era, where Western arms dealers could just manufacture weapons at home and ship the finished products over to India, that's effectively over. Done. In this new era, if global contractors want access to the incredibly lucrative Indian market today, they have to change their entire business model. They are now required to set up joint ventures on Indian soil and, crucially, transfer their technology to Indian partners. If they don't do that, well, they completely miss out on their share of those 84,500 crores.
Now, let's be realistic for a second. It's not a perfectly smooth road. There's a harsh reality separating a financial clearance on paper from an operational weapon system in the field. A major hurdle right now is absorption capacity. The DAC might clear the funds, sure, but navigating the labyrinth of actually issuing tenders and conducting rigorous field trials, it can sometimes feel like a bureaucratic waiting game that literally takes years. Furthermore, and this is a really critical bottleneck, the Indian defense industry still relies heavily on foreign suppliers for highly complex subcomponents. We're talking specifically about things like advanced jet engines and high-end sensors. You might build the airframe in India, but if the engine still comes from abroad, true independence remains a pretty big challenge.
Section 6. Future Outlook and Revision.
Looking forward, the DAC is continuing its aggressive strategy by using what they call Positive Indigenisation Lists. Essentially, these are lists that outright ban the import of specific weapons systems, totally forcing the military to buy Indian. The ultimate advantage of this robust acquisition structure is predictability. Because the market is essentially guaranteed by those DAC import bans, domestic companies finally have the financial confidence they've been waiting for. They can now safely invest billions of their own money into research and development, knowing for a fact that if they build a capable product, there is a massive captive market just waiting to buy it.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's lock in the core pillars driving this entire shift. Think of these like your mental flashcards. We have the DAC, wielding the authority, the Buy Indian (IDDM) mandate setting the rules, and a massive push for import substitution, driving the larger overarching goal of Atmanirbhar Bharat, or self-reliance. Keep those terms in your back pocket.
So, we've seen the massive financial commitment today, and we've walked through the sweeping policy shifts, but a really fascinating lingering question remains. Can Indian industry truly overcome its deep reliance on foreign subcomponents, like those jet engines and high-end sensors we talked about, to achieve total self-reliance? There is a really interesting tension right now between these highly ambitious policy goals and the stark realities of high-tech manufacturing. Keep your eyes closely on how India navigates that specific bottleneck in the years to come. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will see you all in the next one.